Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hello and welcome to WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca, Monterey, California. Last week we were at Long Beach and we'll stay in, shall we say, the pièce de résistance of American motor race circuits. I don't count Daytona. Some people do. Realistically, for circuit racing, it's an oval with bits tacked on. This is a mountain, albeit with road racing fun tacked on. Tonight, bringing you 150 kilometers from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca, and round number 6 of season 17. And that means championship standings have updated, and they've updated in a significant way. There was an overhanging protest from the Silverstone round, which has now finally been resolved, which means we actually have the up-to-date points. They are no longer provisional, and we can actually reveal to you what's gone on in terms of the championship. All that and more from tonight's broadcast of our favorite curry-related series. It is the V8 Veterans on behalf of Logitech G, Nova Sim Sports, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, and Player One Sim Gear. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again. I hope that you're all sitting back, you're all nice and comfy, and you've got a bowl of curry directly in front of you for tonight's racing action. Mez, it's Laguna Seca. It's tight, it's twisty. Overtaking does come at a premium. Even when you get up and alongside somebody, it's not that easy to finish the move off.
Welcome everyone. I'm still trying to grapple with the fact you have an issue with Daytona, let alone. So I'm just blindsided me. I didn't realize there was this side of Scott. I don't know if I can actually work with you at this rate. But anyway, we'll put that aside for tonight. We'll discuss this afterwards. But yes, we are here at Laguna Seca. Very, very well-known track, obviously. Very well-known in terms of racing in America, IndyCar, IMSA. All the categories have been here. If you've ever played Gran Turismo, this track was your staple. 11 corners, anti-clockwise, 3.6 kilometers, located in Monterey, California. As you said, passing is a premium around here. You've got a few opportunities into turn 2, the Andretti hairpin, turn 11. There's a few chances if you can set it up in turn 5. Turn 6 is a no-go. And there is a chance to make a move at the corkscrew, but you've got to be very committed to make it work there. And of course, the corkscrew, the American version of the dipper, but I still think the dipper that we have is a little bit better anyway. But difficult track, it's very tight and twisty, and it's surrounded by gravel. And as we've noticed with the recent updates to iRacing, gravel has significantly more bite to it this time around. So keeping it clean, smooth, keeping it off the gravel is going to be very important.
Well, I'm glad it has more bite to it, because if it didn't, it'd have more bark, and well, gravel's not wood, so...
Oh, Lord.
It's the veterans, mate. Most people out here are either dads or granddads, and this is the most appropriate place to insert the dad jokes each and every week. Yeah, it's going to be 11 corners out here tonight. 3.6 kilometers and 11 turns in the anti-clockwise direction. Like we said, 150 kilometers. Has hosted the IndyCar season finale the last couple of years as well, so it's really, really important in terms of things over there. It was actually interesting. I've been listening along to what Scott McLaughlin's sort of targeting with what he's looking for from his racing future in the United States of America at the moment, and interested to hear him talk about that over the last couple of days. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of tonight's racing action, qualifying is the bulk of the way through. In fact, I believe the session has just concluded. It's 42-lap race distance for tonight. 32 laps is going to be the minimum racing distance required to score points. Reminder, 2 compulsory pit stops. What's that going to look like? We're going to look at adding 75-ish litres. If you're good on the fuel saving, might get that down to 60 to 65 litres. You'd have to be really good to get it to 60, but hey, it is still possible. Compulsory pit stop window is going to open at the end of lap number 2. However, we get a safety car on that lap number 1. That's going to extend that one out until the end of the first green flag lap post the safety car. So that is how we stand on the way in terms of strategy here tonight. Those are the numbers that are up and on the board. Having a look at it, it's about 35 seconds, 33 to 35 seconds in terms of the pit lanes. So it's very similar to last week. There's slightly less on throttle time around here than there was last time out at Long Beach.
Yeah, and that's greatly reflected. Obviously, we're looking at the breakdown and what you can do pit stop wise. Obviously, yeah, lap 5 you can get this thing home pretty easily. So, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. I sort of had a brief look at this beforehand, and honestly, Laguna Seca is one of these tracks where it's hard to tell which way to go. Again, it's probably one of those tracks that tyre life is probably going to play more of a factor than fuel. Obviously, well, you can fill it up and get it home on lap 5, so it may be potentially, do you take the pain early and then just do the tyre stop later on, minimise yourself in pit lane. Sometimes we've noticed with cars on some tracks, fuel actually makes the car a bit more stable, can actually look after the tyres a bit more, so maybe that's something that can happen here. So yeah, genuinely just not sure how this strategy is going to go. They would have thought about it, and they've probably already got a plan made up, but yeah, generally just don't know which way you can go with it tonight.
Yeah, generally thus far, ladies and gentlemen, it has been the even strategy. Add about half your fuel at the first stop, add about half your fuel at the second stop. First stop, by and large, the biggest gainers across the night have taken less fuel, have tended to take less fuel at that first stop. Anyone who puts the extra amount of fuel in at the first stop finds it very, very hard. And I get the feeling again, Mez, we talk about it each and every week, it's the undercut. And what triggers an undercut? Lighter fuel load at that first stop means you have to come in early, means you can get back out there, back on those tyres and make some inroads. With overtaking opportunities at a premium, pit lane strategy is going to be how you get the job done. We see as lap 1 safety car, there are going to be some people at the very back end of the field who come in, fill that tank and get back out there. The reason for that, when you don't have track position, sometimes you try and buy yourself some track position, and how you do that, there's a couple of different ways about that. In terms of things though, it's probably time to jump across and have a look at our points. You've seen the consistency over the last few weeks of Michael Taliancic, so to all of us, no surprise, he's absolutely up at the top. The other driver that has jumped a significant margin has finally put his mark of authority on the V8 veterans is Darren Lobb. His first time in terms of championship standings up towards the pointy end. Remember, only raced here for the first time in season number 16. So in season 2, doing a phenomenal job. But have a look at the positions gained by Bruce Tanak, Jeff Thomas, and Chris Funky Miller. The other big mover in Shaker, or guys that are hanging on to the ladder, Darren Crosby, who's +8, Chris Miller and Jeff Thomas, all big jumpers. And then the guys that are riding that snake all the way back down to that, is it the bottom left corner of Snakes and Ladders board? Normally bottom left corner of Snakes and Ladders board. That tells you how long it's been since I've played. -19 from Christian Smart. Big drop off over the last couple of weeks. Michael Stewart, we've seen some phenomenal driving in these first couple podiums from Stewart. Paul Warwick as well, also dropping a number of spots. For those guys, missed a race in the middle of that. That will tell some of the story, Mez. So, looking at strategy here tonight, let's put you in the cockpit, Mez. You short stopping at that first stop?
Depending on a safety car. If I was to play out this one tonight, if we get an early safety car, yes, I'd be boxing straight away, getting a bulk of the fuel done over and done with, and then, yeah, basically once you sort of get to that halfway point, get your final stop done and just get it home to the end. So very much doubt that there's going to be a lot of people who will be thinking about potentially extending that out. So, yeah, that'd be my go-to every time.
Right, with time running out on our warm-up session, it's time to jump to our grid. And for the better part of a while, it's been a while since we've seen Ken Latta back at the front end of the season. He's already had one pole position thus far this season. It's going to be pole position at least number 2 for the 269. Off alongside of him, John Latham also managed to pole thus far back at Silverstone. He will also be off the front row in what is a very, very important qualifying to get right. Darren Lobb, one of the biggest movers and shakers in terms of where his best finishes are so far this season. And Bruce Tanak are going to make up your row number 2. Watch for this one. Spicy. Both of these guys tend to be a little bit on the aggressive side. Moving one row further back, it's going to be Matt Vanderkraan and Rick Sebra finally finding that turn of speed there for the Frog Leap Juice Racing entry. And Matt Vanderkraan, another consistent qualifying performance from him. We'll move one row further back. Going to jump back to Chris Miller, again, getting himself inside the top 10. Opportunity for points tonight. Will it go begging? Scotty Van Loon, terrible race last time out. Could tonight be the turnaround, or shall we say the corkscrew in his bottle? Position number 9, it's going to be Chad Lewis, who again sees himself nice and consistently inside the top 10, and Michael Stewart has had flashes of pace. Can tonight be another night where he stays out of trouble and secures another nice points finish? Moving back to 11th and 12th, Robbie Griffiths and Travis Hunt. Travis has not had a season to remember. He's been in and around it. Can tonight he make a few more spots up? He'll be one of the drivers who'll take a short splash and go to the end. Chris Blanchard and Craig Friend. Chris Blanchard's found some speed, and Craig Friend, remember Winton Raceway last season, Craig Friend managed to win that race, albeit with safety car dramas. He'll still chalk that one up tonight. Could he crack into that top 10 yet again? David Kirby, one of his worst qualifying performances thus far this season, but only 7.5 tenths off the pace, off alongside of Chris Smart. Moving back to 17th and 18th is going to be Jamie McKnight, one of his best qualifying performances, and Greg Sharp. Greg continues to find ways to find himself in other people's dramas. Can he keep it clean inside the top 20? 19th and 20th are going to round us out for the first 10 rows, and very, very deep in the field, Michael Taliancic missed qualifying this week, nearly a second off the pace. If you're a championship leader, tonight could be a night to forget. Can Steve Banks make some inroads and perhaps follow Taliancic through?
And we'll flick over to 21st Sports. Paul Burns in P21. Steve Grumley will be P22. First of our cars, about a second off the pace. Robert Crisdale will be lining up in P23. Jason Fewens in the Banter Alliance car will be lining up in P24. Then we'll go back. Dean Flavel will be lining up in P25. Alongside will be Darren Crosby in P26. We'll go back another one. And Matty Parker will be lining up in P27. Alongside will be your favourite person, Scotty McCune in P28. Steve Kennedy will be lining up in P29. Alongside him will be Tom Duggan in the Nova Sim Sports car. Damien Cross will be coming in at P31 with Brenton O'Brien alongside. Tony Stone Street will be in P33. Simon Heddershire in P34. Chris Barrage in 35th with Darren Goosey alongside in P36, and then our non-qualifiers, which I think these might be not taking the grid, Stewie Hall and Michael Quain as well. A few of those I think grabbed the wrong server. So that will be the grid as we get ready to go green.
Well, we are going to be about 5 seconds away from those lights starting to come on. Keep your eyes on Ken Ladder, and John Latham's going to have to get across that inside nice and quickly. The lights are going to come on here in just a few moments. Get ready for those revs to rise, ladies and gentlemen. It is round number 6 of the V8 Veterans, 150 kilometers from Laguna, Seca. Who is going to tame the corkscrew, and who is going to be left at the back end with the bottom of the curry pot? It's going to be a nice heavy race down to turn number 1. It was a reasonable getaway from Darren Lobb up there. He's going to try and get down the inside. No real hole there. And have a look at the chaos as it kicks off. Back about 15, 16 through to 20th place. Chris Smart is around. And Taliancic in the grass on turn 1. Lap 1 to the rear of the field. Safety car not going to be needed for that one. But for Taliancic, well, somebody should have told him that even though there's a lot of gravel out there, a lot of sand, it's not time for a holiday.
No, that is a big implication as well. There's actually more coming around. The 57 spinning Quain, what looks of it is going around. It was again multiple cars trying to sort of make that one spot happen. There seems to be a lot of cars that are just trying to find gaps that don't exist so early on in this race, but he'll get back going again. But out front, Kenneth Ladder, this is exactly what he would be wanting, a chance to get back into this championship fight. He had that rough run at Silverstone, but now this is his chance to get some runs back. But Darren Lobb as well in second place. This is his opportunity. He's up one spot as well, so having a really good start coming off third. So again, this is a golden opportunity for him to bang some solid points, while Taliancic has just not had a good start at all to this one.
I'll tell you what, how about the opportunity for Rick Sebra moving up out of split 2 into split number 1. He's done a phenomenal job thus far. Can he really get that job going? Can he stay inside the top 5? He's grabbed one spot on that first lap, and he is the driver sitting here with all the look at the drivers up ahead of him. This is a phenomenal opportunity for the flawedly juiced racing driver. And a driver starting to really find his feet in the V8 supercars at this point in time. Could this be a moment that he'll look back in seasons to come and go, that's where I found my feet. This is the first time that I felt like a duck taking the water.
And it's one of those tracks, if you can find pace here, it's a really good confidence booster. It doesn't seem like, when you look at it, it doesn't look like an overly complicated track, but it's one of those tracks where just trying to switch on and find pace here is incredibly hard. Like, there's people that have been on this surface for almost a decade who just can't seem to find pace around this joint. It's just one of those tracks that's just hard to get your head around. So if you've come up to this series and trying to find your feet, and then you come to Laguna Seca and you find yourself in a really, really good position, it's going to be big confidence booster moving forward, because you can pretty much get your head around one of the toughest tracks, I think, that we go to on this calendar.
Yeah, and off camber, flowing the car nicely, keeping it. One of the key factors is, yeah, he's ticked the box in terms of qualifying pace. What's it going to look like when he goes to tick that box in race pace? I'm sure we'll get the opportunity to revisit that lap 1, turn 1 incident. That is going to tell a lot of different stories, but for Darren Goosey in the Chubby Buns entry, there's a lot of opportunities there at the final corner. Everyone's starting to get checked up. And this is deep in the pack as well. So, again, more opportunities for the guys all the way back down here. For Brenton O'Brien, he's grabbed himself a number of spots on those opening couple laps. 9 spots up into 23rd place from 32nd. Simon Hederscheid had a terrible race last time out from Long Beach. Darren Goosey, another driver. 3 separate drivers plus 9. And for Taliancic, remember what we said at the start of the show? Get in on lap 2. You fill this tank up, you can just about go to the end. It is a splash and dash, but you've got to look after the tyres. So I get the feeling from this one, Mez, he's going to take all but 9 seconds of fuel. And he's going to leave 9 seconds of fuel for that final stop.
Yeah, we'll probably leave just enough. That may have already been a strategy, because you can tell it's a very short stop, only 12 seconds in the box. So definitely just enough to put some fuel in to get him to where about his pit window is going to be. But if it's a track that you're going to sort of have a bad start on, this is probably the track to do it. Obviously, Chad Lewis, we can see that's definitely not the way that you want to take the corkscrew, but he's managed to come back on safely. Only lose a few spots out of that one, but yeah, being that the pit strategy is so wide open, you're only going to need a really short stop in the middle to get yourself home. This is an opportunity for Taliancic to be able to come back through the field, but I'd still be hoping for a safety car to try and sort of get him back in tow, but yeah, could still work out for him.
Well, one driver's already picked himself up an iRacing black flag, and that driver indeed is, have a look where Chad Lewis ended up on the run up to the corkscrew on that lap. That is not a great place to be out there. A little bit of contact for Chad. He was inside the tandem doing a reasonable job. So unfortunately for him, he's got a lot of work now left to do in front of him. And I've just went back and had a look. Was looking for where the black flag may have come from. I've just lost it now. Matty Parker. It was Matty Parker that had the black flag. Jump start was the result of that one. And the guy that was just ahead of him was Dean Favell. He nearly jumped the start as well. They were both moving at a very, very similar time. And unfortunately for Matty Parker, the wrong side of where that one come out. I tell you what, have a look through the kick. Have a look at these guys battling away, and now it's going to be Scotty McCune and Simon Hederscheid side by side on the run up to the corkscrew. Hederscheid slots in, and now McCune is at the head of this queue. They're 4 seconds off the cars up ahead of them, and they've got to get their heads down and start working together. If opportunities are going to present themselves and they're not on the back end of that next pack, they're in a little bit of trouble, let alone the extra fuel they'll be burning here.
Yep. Staying in tow is probably going to be where you want to be when you start losing those big gaps in the cars in front. You can visually see it there. That is a big gap that they're losing to the cars in front. It obviously, affects big time what you want to do with your strategy. If you want to try and jump the guys in front of you or play yourself further into the race. So, basically, as you're sort of saying, settle yourselves down a little bit. They're still battling at the moment as they come out of turn 1. So each one thinks that they're faster than the car in front at the moment, so they're going to try and make the point of it. But it looks like he's got a little run wide. He's going to try and have a look to the inside. That's a brave spot to try and have a look there, but he's going to keep the nose there remarkably. He's going to have the outside though, so it's probably not going to quite work. He's just going to go around the outside, and Hederscheid just grabs off the side limit. That's going to open up a few more spots for a few other drivers. So I'll have to look at that one again. And it's just, it's carrying on.
It's really carried on.
It's really carried on again. Hederscheid goes around into the wall.
And unfortunately for Hederscheid, he was off track there, and that forced the check up, made a little bit of a mistake. grabbed a touch worth of the cement on the outside of the track, and you can see it on that shot as well. Some sections on the run up here to the corkscrew, there is cement. Some sections there is sand. He's caught the backside of the curb, unsettles the car, grabs the throttle, and just continues on from there. But McCune was offline and out of sync a long way through there. Heddershot shoved the nose in at turn 3. And that presented the opportunity at turn 4, and that's eventually ended up being the result, albeit Heddershide got a tag when they got to turn 5. That has continued on for a long, long time. Anyway, such is life. And for Simon Heddershide, that's a big lock up into the last corner. He is now off the back end of the pack in P31 and struggling. More drivers in the pits. Matty Parker is one of those who will be coming in to serve a penalty. And Dave Kirby will be another. He's going to come in and take a pit stop. And he was deep in the pack, remember? And this is something that Dave Kirby does a lot.
Yep. Get in. Get that first stop out of the way. And that's going to be a big slowdown, and it's also caused a check-up for Darren Lobb as well, but he's going to go around the outside there. That's not a mistake that you want to be making, especially when you're in the lead of the race too. So just grab the fronts as they head into the corkscrew. Luckily, it's not going to be too much. I didn't even think there was going to be much of a slowdown there as well, but it'll drop into second place. But yeah, that's handed the lead off, and we've got a car backwards. Top Duggan over at the corkscrew, and he's missing the front of that car. It's smoking as well, so that car has copped a big hit to the front.
I'm wondering whether or not he has downshifted or somebody's contacting the braking zone on the run up to the corkscrew. Quite commonly triggers that. Well, he's out and off on his own at the head of this pack. Was in 29th position. He's going to get the cars too far over on the right hand side. Well done. That's the one time you don't ever want to hit that. Yeah, that's probably just grab the car. That's going to suck. Just doing that. It probably would just had a car probably just a little bit too far to the right, and it's just pitched the car left into the wall. So luckily, thankfully, you have a fast repair, so I'll be able to get that engine swapped out pretty quickly and get going again. But yeah, just little mistakes sometimes have the biggest effect. But you can see on screen at the moment, David Kirby, the first of the drivers that are pit, and more interesting enough, look in the background as well, Taliancic, there he is. So not far off this lead car. I can't remember what position was Kirby in. Kirby started out of P15, so keep half an eye on that one. So assuming at this point he was 13th when he came to the box. So assume it's going to be around 13th spot once it all sort of corrects itself. So it's doing okay so far for Taliancic. If you can close up to the back of Kirby, that'll be helpful for him in trying to sort of recover the result of this race. Well, the other side of the coin is having a look at the pit stop times, their transition times. Dave Kirby took on 6 seconds more worth of fuel than Taliancic did. So I wonder whether or not from Tally this was just come in, grab a splash, and get back out there. Just to change the strategy up, do some undercutting, and moving himself further forward. Will he be I get the feeling probably targeting the halfway mark now. His target will be lap 21, get back in, get that second stop out of the way, and see where we end up. And the key for Taliancic is going to be, can he lap with the leaders? So on the last time by, 0.7 of a second faster, Darren Lobb, and half a second faster, Ken Ladder. 0.3 of a second faster was John Latham. So those three drivers definitely quicker than him at the moment, albeit that Taliancic has got a lot more fuel on board. And the key for Taliancic is all that fuel is sitting over the rear axle. That car is not going to want to rotate and be quite sluggish in its head. Yeah. And obviously a lot of high speed sort of corners. So wanting the front of the car to sort of really want to rotate. But yeah, the pace, just sort of back to that, the pace of the front three, they're matching each other basically within 0.04 of a second. So they're comfortably just sort of gapping this field at the moment. Bruce Tannock was sitting in fourth at the moment with 23.2. So, and that's sort of the standard pace from those cars back. So at the moment, the top three just sort of in a league of their own when it comes to pace at the moment. But just uncomfortably pushing that gap out. But
yeah, still plenty to go in this race and see how that all plays out. But so far, doing a really good job up front.
Penalty just to come through for Steve Grumley in the 5.75 entry, and I didn't actually catch exactly what lap that was result. Oh, that might have even been the lap 1, turn 1 incident, or could have been somewhere on lap 1. Did start out at 20 seconds, so he was the row immediately behind Taliancic. So, end result of that one is that he could have theoretically got caught up in that incident, although there was a secondary incident on lap number 1. So, either way, the run down to turn number 1 was not steady, not consistent, not smooth, and have a bit of a wobble through the kink. I hate that kink. That kink right there and me have never ever gotten auto. I've never done more than about 10 laps consecutively here without nearly coming a cropper on that. It's the kink on the run up to the corkscrew.
No, I'm there with you as well. I've always that one corner that always seem to make a mistake on. So yeah, no, I'm going to be with you on that one. So going back on replay, please. Where it came from, and
It was.
So probably just trying to find a gap that didn't exist at that point. Everyone was going to be checking up when they got to that corner. So you can see there's a few cars that just do not get a really good exit at all. You've got to be careful for that. It's one of those corners where everyone is just going to check up. It's such a short run to the first corner. There's not a lot of space for cars to sort of gap themselves. And it's such a narrow run too, up to turn 1. So yeah, you've just got to be a bit aware that the cars in front of you will check up and adjust for it. Yeah, unfortunately in that situation, but I just think he just hasn't quite calculated that was going to happen. Yeah, nowhere to go and just caused obviously an unfortunate turn 1 pileup.
Yeah, and that's key to racing, is that you've got to get the, particularly turn 1, lap 1, you've got to get the eyes as far down the track as possible. Again, you'll be looking at that and going, the guys directly ahead of him, yeah, they didn't check up, they weren't on the brakes when he went for that hole, but at the same time, the guys that were a little bit further ahead of him, they were on the brakes, and that's the key. It's not looking at the cars directly in front of you. And for those of you watching along at home who don't necessarily partake in sim racing, get the eyes as far down the track as you possibly can when you're out on the road as well, albeit it's a road and not a track, Scotty, is what they will be telling me. But yes, always get your eyes as far down the track as possible. On board with Travis Hunt at the moment. And I want to say a shout out to Dean Flavel. You went around for this, Maz, but Dean Flavel actually used to have a heart rate monitor that we used to hook up into and be able to have a look at what was going on. And he always used to love watching it when safety cars would start, because the heart rate would go down when the safety car came out, and you could see it spike when they went back to green flag racing. It was one of the most interesting things to watch, and I could sit there mesmerized by it for hours upon hours upon hours.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Dan Stevens actually does the same thing too. He's got his heart rate monitor pulled into when the Zoom calls go up. And yeah, same thing. It's like you can always sort of well, usually I'm racing Dan also than watching you race, but yeah, you go back and look at the race afterwards, and yeah, you can just see the heart rate spike up or down. Although Dan's pretty much cool 90% of the time anyway, so I don't really see his heart rate going too crazy, except when I'm around him. But that's normal. My heart rate goes up when I'm around me, so I can't really go for that.
Something very, very interesting just popped up on the in-race chat. It was an audio communication from race control. Car number 21 failing to hold brakes on lap number 1. I've gone back and have a look, by the way, because I was just like, hang on, there's more coming in as well. And Brenton O'Brien's also pissed himself up a post-race points penalty. So we're going to keep an eye on what that points penalty shakes out, because when he's already having a bad night, well, one of the biggest and best ways that you can actually go further backwards when you're having a bad night, yeah, you might be able to chalk this one up to a drop round. Indeed, there is one of those this season. What you can't chalk up is a post-race points penalty. It was for failing to hold his brakes as we got back across the track. And yeah, fair enough. Benefit of, well, I'm an oval racer at heart. We don't have these things called brake lights, but the difference between NASCARs and V8 supercars is that they do have brake lights.
And also, when you spin in NASCAR, the holding the brake doesn't necessarily make the situation any better anyway, so...
Well, okay, you need more experience, my friend. We'll park that one to the side and say that Mez is going to get an education in NASCAR at some point.
Anyway, well, yes,
I agree.
We'll leave that one. We'll leave that one. We've both had very different experiences when it comes to NASCAR, but yeah, no, that is something that is very much expected upon. If you're in an incident, the goal is just to sort of, as we say, lock the car down, just basically put your foot through the brake pedal as hard as you can to try and stop yourself. I did notice that on the replay that the car did go backwards quite fast, but I just wasn't sure if it was just the way the car slid or something else like that. Sometimes you can see it that the cars will just spear across the track. It's even if you have got the brakes locked, sometimes it's just you pick up so much speed in an incident that the braking's just not really going to stop you anyway. Yeah, so we've got another penalty actually coming up as well for the Michael Stewart sort of contact on lap 2. I believe that was the contact up into the corkscrew with Chad Lewis, because that's what I was looking at, and I could sort of see they recognised the car in the background, and I was like, I wonder if they're going to look at that and see was there significant overlap, or was it that Michael went into Chad, or was it Chad coming across? But we can see that the replay. Race control's obviously got a better look at it, and they've laid the blame at Michael Stewart in that one. So we'll very, very quickly take the drive through and, yeah, try and get back on track with that one.
And as racing drivers tend to do, they tend to disagree with race control. And he said very quickly, hey, what about the rejoin? Well, Chad Lewis did run wide at the kink on that lap and rejoined, but rejoined quite safely. It was in the braking zone. So, yep, look, you look back at it, and one of the biggest things you tend to say to race car drivers is, as well, whereby you have external footage for real-life drivers' mess. None of that external footage. Don't get the opportunity to go back and review things thoroughly. It often comes down to you wait until you get out of the car and you go, yep, look, I'm going to stick my hand up. That was probably me, and you don't notice it at the time. Anyway, we are looking at the drivers who have thus far completed their pit stops, and already back to P19 is Dave Kirby, albeit we just said that was the leader of the drivers to have completed their stop. That has now been overtaken by Travis Hunt, who will rejoin just in front of Dave Kirby, having taken a slightly shorter pit stop, 3 seconds less in the lane for him. And right now they are 5 seconds apart on track, albeit Dave Kirby's got a lot older rubber on board. I would expect Travis Hunt to make some ground from here. That is the pit stop difference, and that is going to be quite important. That says to me that Travis Hunt yet again has more fuel to add at the second stop than he does at the first, and he's locked in on that strategy. It's worked for him thus far this season. That's where he's been grabbing a bunch of his track position. It's been the other on-track activities that have not fallen his wayside thus far. I still can't get over what happened back at Monza when he was on the podium, by the way, man. So the car just shut off. I've never seen that in a sim racing car. So, obviously in real life racing where you just have an electrical failure, the thing shuts down. Never seen that in a sim racing car.
No, very, very odd. We do often talk about mechanical failures in sim racing, and it's usually sort of when your steering wheel or your pedals or your steering base and stuff like that, if there's a fault with the computer, well, we sort of put it down as a mechanical problem. But yeah, that's where you just have the car completely cut out like that did. That's just something you just don't usually see. It's just a weird phenomenon. And yeah, they're the ones that I think sort of, especially for me, I find they're the ones that are harder to swallow when it's out of your control and it's just something that just happens that you can't really explain or replicate. They're the hardest ones. It's like, oh, come on, like, did everything right, I didn't put a foot wrong, and it's just something external has decided that it's going to go wrong for you. Yeah, they're sort of the harder ones to swallow. But the mistake you made, well, there's no one else you can look at. You can look at yourself in the room and say, you know what? You've got to do better next time. But when those things happen, yeah, a bit of a harder thing to swallow.
Which is also why I like this strategy, by the way, from Michael Talianchich. He's taken both hands on the strategy, going, yep, something happened on lap 1. I'm going to play my strategy way back into it. It's early. Bruce Tannock now into the lane out of P5 on track, albeit that looks to me like something's happened. Why is he in P5? Is somebody ahead of him as pit will be the answer to that one. It was Matt Vanderkraan who actually had pit from out in front of him. So this is going to trigger all of the over and undercutting pit cycle strategies as everyone starts to come down a pit lane. We are 15 laps into this race. on our 16th circuit as it currently stands, and rapidly approaching in on the 75 out of 150 marker that we will be on lap 21 thus far tonight. Scotty Van Loon doing a reasonable job managing to hang on to things, and how's this for Michael Taliancic? It's going to pop back out ahead of Van Loon. And Justin, it's going to be tight in the pit lane entry. Indeed, it's going to be exceptionally tight. There is Taliancic, that is Scotty Van Loon. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is P12, P13 on the racetrack. So for Taliancic, what started out as a 19th place in qualifying, a rear of the field at the end of lap 1. And this is what I was talking about a few moments ago when I said take your strategy into your own hands. He's done exactly that. Instead of sitting around and trying to overtake people on track, that will take forever. Yeah, let's do it all through the pit lane. Let's get fresh air on that front splitter, and he is now in a great position that he wasn't necessarily in much earlier on.
Be interested to see if Scotty can actually stick with Taliancic, because Scotty Van Loon's going to have much fresher tyres. Taliancic is actually going to have about 13 laps on those tyres, so they're well worn. But interesting, we looked at it, we can see the leaders are E2, so we looked at our strategy. Lap 17 was going to be about the late stop mark, so this is everyone just running the fuel tank out, 18 seconds stop, so you get Ken Latta just taking just enough fuel to get on a bit further deeper into the race. So that's about 18. So yeah, that's probably about half the fuel that they need at this point. So yeah, they're definitely not filling the tank up just enough to take tyres and get going again. So there will be another short splash and dash for the drivers to come. But yeah, running the tanks absolutely out till there's nothing left in them. Boxing, that seems to be the strategy in this one.
And there's a very interesting incident I've just seen happen with Paul Burns and Todd Duggan. It might actually be best if we actually don't have a look at that one. We might just ignore that one for now and wait for race control to have a look at it. Unfortunately for Grumley, has made contact with another driver. So in the meantime, everyone will settle in. The pit stops have come thick and fast. Two drivers left to make their pit stop thus far. One of them is Darren Crosby, the other Hederscheid. Hederscheid, after not pitting with all of that hullabaloo that went on earlier in the race, is only 14th. So he is going to be much further back. And that's not going to work for him. But Darren Crosby, after contact on lap number 1 as well, and a little bit of a wiggle, he's attempting to play himself in by running long here. And we'll see what happens.
A bit hard to you're in sort of this position at the moment. And see up in front, Taliancic is one of those drivers who got affected earlier and has popped out in front. So you can see Darren Crosby in the pits at the moment. So get the stop done and out of the way. So we'll just leave Simon Hederscheid, and just as we speak, Simon Hederscheid bolts down pit lane as well, so he will take his next stop, and say that'll drop him a fair way down the field at this rate.
I've just gone back and had a look. How good's this from Travis Hunt? He pit from 10th. Look at where he's running. 5th at the moment, albeit, and it's not much. Have a look at Mount Van der Kran just ahead of him. Only 1 second longer in the pit lane, and look at where he's popped out. So for Travis Hunt, this has really worked out for him. He's come in, he's taken that short splash, and this has been his strategy thus way through, and all of a sudden he's starting to look like a real hero. He sat down, he's done his homework, and thus far this season has been one of the more consistent drivers in terms of the strategy. He's been nailing this week in, week out, always looking to progress his position, and yet again inside the top 10, yet again on for another phenomenal finish. The problem he's got is if he wants to turn this into a podium here tonight, it is about 6 seconds up the road. Work to do, but after Monza and one that went away from him with a technical issue, tonight he could earn his way onto the podium.
Yep. This definitely comes across as a team that actually is Travis Hunt trying to really think about how they can make the strategies benefit them, because we do see it every week that they seem to just sort of, they'll hit and they'll always pop out a few spots ahead. So it's like they're having a real good think about how they can make that pitch strategy work for them, whether or not they're coming up with that plan really, really early and saying, right, we pick here, we know because we come out around this sort of spot, so we'll try and play it later on in the race. They're thinking about that and they're using that to their advantage, and they are starting to see really big gains. We saw the same thing actually in Silverstone. It was incredible, the pitch strategy that they employed just popped them straight up the front as well. So they've definitely found something with the strategy that is working for them, and they're able to capitalise on that. So yeah, good to see. But again, only halfway through the race, so they've still got we've still got one more stop to go, and I've got to imagine that they probably were a little bit short field, so they might have to give that back later on. But still, they're in a really, really good spot to capitalise on the track position that they have at the moment.
Yeah, but if you're short filled by, 1 second, 3 seconds, and all of a sudden you're undercutting by 5 seconds, well, you've made that up, and then you can just defend, particularly around here at Laguna Seca. So I keep half an eye on those guys. They're moving their way forward. Another important one as well, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Ken Latta has retaken the race lead. Did pop back out ahead as we've been riding on board with Jason Fewens the last couple of laps in an interesting battle with Dean Flavel just ahead of him. This one has happened within the pit cycle. And have a look at the pit lane times for both of these drivers. Both came to the pits on lap number 17. However, the difference in the transit time, have a look at that. 18 seconds versus 23 seconds. And when we looked at that pit stop graphic earlier on in the night, Darren Lobb, he's basically got about 9 to 10 seconds worth of his pit stop left to go tonight. How long do you need for tyres? 9 to 10 seconds worth. Somebody's done their math.
Yep, exactly. So playing that out perfectly. So, and to be fair, we come to expect this from SSR. They're probably one of the best teams on the grid in terms of supercars at the moment. So definitely going to have a lot of good drivers that they can pull a lot of information from, so they'll have thought this one out. But Darren, what you can see, just hanging on in the background, and Darren's in a really good spot. Doesn't need to take as much fuel in the next stop, so it'll be interesting. It's whether or not this will be interesting to see. You sort of mentioned that Ladder's queued himself into the point where he just needs to take enough fuel to cut the tyres off.
So it's Darren Lobb, other way around, Mess. Darren Lobb said that about him.
Hang on, what?
I said Darren Lobb. Darren Lobb's taken 5 seconds more worth of fuel than Ken Latta.
Yes. So no. This is where I was going with it. So Ken Latta, So Ken Latta will obviously have queued it to the point where he'll have to take as much fuel that'll cover tyres. That's where I was going with that. Darren Lobb has taken more fuel, but is in taking more fuel, if he still takes tyres in the next stop, he's still going to be equaling out with Ken Latta in the end anyway. So this is where I'm interested to see, did Darren Lobb take more fuel than what he really needed to, and thus has actually fallen behind in track position? That's just where I'm sort of thinking at the moment where this is sort of going. If Ken Latta has played this right, and he literally just needs to take just enough fuel to cover off tyres, effectively Darren Lobb may have played himself out of the number one pit spot, the number one position. So, like I said, we'll wait and see what happens in the final stop. That'll tell us whether or not I'm crazy, which is not surprising. But that's just looking at that one. That's where I think, what's going to happen there.
What I was trying to say was the other way around. Darren Lobb has got 10 seconds worth of fuel to add. So anyway, we'll keep an eye on it, as we always do.
We'll keep an eye, yeah. I'm looking at pit box times, and I'm getting a very different picture than you. But we'll see who's right at the end, or if I need to go back on my meds.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you know of a psychiatry clinic that's looking for more patients, I can offer you Simon Masomo at a discounted rate. Oh, Mez, I look forward to Thursdays every week, not because of the racing, but more because of your in-booth banter, shall we say.
You just look for the opportunity to throw me under the bus, let's be honest.
Mate, it's easy. When you park the bus down the inside every week, under the bus you go.
Anyways, haven't we got a race to talk about?
No, we don't. Robert Crisdale's going to take to the escape road to get out of the way of our race leaders. He's done a great job of that. This is the battle a little bit further down. Rick Sieber and Bruce Tannick. The two drivers ahead of them under fuel just a touch, and we're expecting this to actually be the battle for 5th place, maybe 4th place, depending upon the way that those fuel strategies play out. In the meantime, Travis Hunt is going to do some busy work in terms of those tyres. He's done a phenomenal job thus far to stay up here, and now he's got Chris Smart crawling all over his rear bumper, albeit Christian Smart is actually a lap car. So things not going well for Christian Smart tonight. Was one of those cars involved in the lap 1 incident all the way down to turn number 2, and the end's ready hairpin. But We will see, ladies and gents. We will see. And this is obviously not great for Christian Smart. The first season we commentated here, we're talking to him just about every week, every second week in terms of podium performances. Hasn't gone his way over the last couple of seasons for the driver of the 999, unfortunately. And for Chris Smart, I hope that there are better days indeed ahead, because he's another lovely driver that I like talking to week in and week out. And when your teammate's up at the front end of the field and you're sitting in here, we end up very quickly with a Verstappen-Perez scenario, when nobody likes talking about the awkwardness of a Verstappen-Perez scenario in today's F1 world.
Yeah, it's it's an interesting spot where Perez is in. So yeah, it's disappointing to see. I'm quite a massive Perez fan. I was so excited to see him get into
that car has never suited him ever.
No. I think it did for a bit. There was definitely moments where you could sort of see the car was he was starting to understand the car. It was at times genuinely as quick, sometimes quicker than Verstappen. But as the season's gone on, the car's been developed more. It's definitely a car that's more towards Verstappen's like Perez, and unfortunately Perez has sort of fallen off the wagon. So, but F1 is a very, very cruel sport. You either, and that's a very cruel dip. Yeah, very good avoiding skills there. It was Top Duggan. And yeah, Scott Kennedy, Stephen Kennedy was in the background as well. So, Darren Crosby, and Crosby was behind. I'd like to see if there was any damage to the front of Todd Duggan's car, because that was a solid hit on the front left. But yeah, hopefully he has gotten away with that one. It's just a bit of superficial damage. But yeah, so that was could have very, very quickly gotten a lot worse very quickly.
Tell you what, Darren Lobb has kicked on with this, by the way. Has gone and nicked the race lead back. So if you thought for 1 second that fuel strategy was going to be how this one would be decided, Darren Lobb has other ideas. He's gone out, wrestled that lead back off of Ken Latta. Whether or not that's another mistake from Ken Latta, and given how far back he is, I wonder whether or not there will be another corkscrew incident. And that's exactly where I was thinking, and this will tell the story yet again. The run up to the corkscrew, and it looks like, although he's quick around this place, Ken Latta, just because the racetrack's name starts with an L doesn't mean that it's Latta's Laguna Seca. No indeedy.
We're going to slow down too. That's why he's had to check right out of it as well. So that's the second time we've seen, although that was not as bad as the first one. But again, that's the second time we've seen that mistake into the dipper. So maybe it's just can't quite get the car balance right heading into the corkscrew. It's just, yeah. If I had $1 for every time Ken Latta made a mistake at the dipper, I'd have $2. It's not the fact that I've got $2, it's the fact that it happened twice. Got that one out. Thank you.
As opposed to 2 50-cent cones at Macca's, you can now buy 4 of them.
Oh, I like your thinking. I have a Macca's not far from me too. Damn it, you give me bad thoughts. Anyway. We've got David Kirby on screen at the moment, leaving this little pack for 8 at the moment. And if you're looking at that little battle screen, you'll see Michael Talianti is right in behind this pack at the moment, battling for a top 10. So this recovery from Talianti so far is working out really, really well. He is effectively, he's obviously probably going to take a stop earlier than this pack is battling at the moment, but he is effectively on strategy with them. So this is looking like more of a net gain, and just as we talk about pits, there is Talianti making a dart for the pit lane. So this will be lap 26. So this is going to be a long haul to get home from here. So 16 laps to get home. So, and we did see 16 laps seem to be the half tank race, because obviously everyone starts with about half a tank. Race starts, so we've got to about lap 16. So again, it's going to be about a half a tank fill, new tyres, and then get it to the end. So obviously Talianti might get under a little bit of trouble when everyone else takes their final pit stop, and we'll have older tyres, but still he should pop up around where he pitted in 12th spot. And yeah, setting himself up for a good run to potentially get into the top 10.
If not further forward, was exactly what I was thinking as well.
Yeah.
And crucially, ladies and gentlemen, if July 42 by 3, end up with 14. So for Taliencic, 17 lap run to the end is actually not all that far outside things, given he pit at the end of lap number 2. That is 24 laps on that take, so he's done quite reasonably. He was holding pace, stabilised, so whether or not he started to feel those rear tyres or front tyres starting to go away from him, he said, yep, that's the perfect time to pit. He's managed that tyre wear, tyre delta in the deck, to get back on in terms of Formula 1 conversation quite well. In terms of Darren Lobb, he's continued to make hay while the sun shines and has disappeared up the road now on Ken Ladder, and now we've got to look a little bit deeper in the pack for some racing action indeed. Most of our top 5, top 10 not really battling away at each other. We will keep half an eye on this battle with the recovering Michael Stewart. Remember, did qualify in 10th position, made his way into the top 10 in quali, but lap 1 was not kind to the 919 entry, and now Dean Flavel is right ahead of him. And for Dean, this is another good opportunity for him, up 9 spots thus far tonight, from 25th on the grid to 16th in race, albeit it looks like starting to take time out of him is Michael Stewart as he really closed up on that box. And then just up the road from him is going to be Jason Fuelens as well, so a 3-way battle pack here. 3 cars covered by a second out on tracks nice and tight. Another battle pack as well, just a little bit further up the road. I believe it's going to be Chris Miller, Scotty Van Loon and Chris Blanchard. And we'll have to keep half an eye on these guys as Blanchard gets it all out of shape on the run into the corkscrew. He will recover and get back out the other side, but you say one word about Chris Blanchard and may the commentator strike him down as he got that one all out of shape.
Looked like he was going to go right to the back of Scott Van Loon, but yeah, done a really good job to sort of pull that one up and get out of it. But yeah, unfortunately cost himself a lot of time heading up into the corkscrew. Watching him right on the back of his pack at the moment. Another car into pit lane, so Greg Sharp and Travis Hunt making their way into pit lane as well.
Not surprised.
We'll go on board with Chris Blanchard as well. Got a double over shoulder here as well, so getting to third, heading into turn 3. You can see that gap. It gets you a little bit when you're right on the bumper of the car in front of you, and then all of a sudden there is just space between you and the car in front, and it's just like, oh, that was such a silly mistake to make. It's very easy at this point to start beating yourself up and start overdriving it, so yeah, very much got to try and just relax, get yourself back into a bit of a rhythm and slowly start working on closing that gap back down.
Now, have a look at the car that's actually just ahead of this little battle pack as well. It's Dave Kirby. So from what was 13th, he's now made his way to 7th, so +6 out of that pit lane strategy on the first stop. And was one of those drivers who came in very, very early on. And now for everyone else, where are they going to pop out? How long are they going to take this one? For drivers like John Latham, he is 4 seconds off the lead at the moment, and here comes Dave Kirby, which is talking about the undercutters, and Chris Miller's going to follow him in. I don't hate this move from Chris Miller. Uses all of the pit lane entry, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. For Chris Miller, he was starting to hold up Scotty Van Loon, which meant that the undercut was very much on for both him and Chris Blanchard, and now it's no longer on. He has solved that equation. How troublesome will he be at the tail end of the race when fresh tyres start to come in? Remember, V8 Supercar tyres in iRacing Sim, quicker on those first sort of 3 laps, and then they settle in from lap 4 sort of onwards. They stabilise for a very, very long period of time, and indeed with the short run to the flag, I expect they would stabilise. You wouldn't see the cliff start to come into the equation here, Miz.
Very, very different tyre. I've got a very vastly different opinion on the tyre. But yeah, it's one of those things that make these cars so difficult to drive. Is that, you know, we're used to, you know, being myself primarily GT driver. We're used to the tyre. It starts off really cold for the first few laps is when the car's at its worst, and then progressively as the tyre heats up, it just gets better and better and better. As the fuel load wears off, the tyre gets better and better and better. These cars are the exact opposite. You get peak performance in the first 2 laps, and then the tyre is just a progressive slide. The tyre will stabilise sort of in we sort of think, I'm pretty sure it's around that lap 7, lap 10 mark. That's where the tyre will start to stabilise. Oh, trying to go around the outside. That's probably not the greatest spot to try and do that one, Travis, but
Still get on with this.
Yep, exactly. Can't get held up. To try and pull through the field, although that's going to work out for him. Going to dart off into the pit lane. That was Chad Lewis. But yeah, no, with these tyres, it's about the look at disappointment there. Visually, you can see it. But yeah, the tyres will sort of they'll plateau for about that 10th of a lap, and also it sort of depends on the track too. But yeah, once you get over that 20 laps, that's when you start to see it really start to put more
And for Travis Hunt, that has actually cost him, because this is everyone starting to feed back out. Bruce Tanek, the next car on the road as he come out that last corner was Matt Vanderkraan, who also went for the same strategy as Travis Hunt. He just pulled the trigger one lap later. Well, everyone else has pulled the trigger, so it's sort of been a progressive go at it. And now Bruce Tanek's the next car up the road. Scott McCune yet to pit, keeping half an eye on our race leaders at this point in time. No, actually, Ken Latta has indeed come to the pit lane for Darren Lobb. You would expect him to come to the lane this time by. I don't think he's got a choice. In fact, Darren Lobb is going to go another lap on. This is an incorrect strategy, because look at where he is. This is huge. This is traffic. And Darren Lobb is right away to throw potentially the race win out the window if he continues to. He's got a box this time by.
Yeah, he got a bit lucky there with that lap traffic that sort of just managed to sidestep out of the play. But yeah, 100%, like, this is the opportunity to take that stop. If you're looking up front, you mentioned this earlier, looking down the road, looking down the track, this is one of those things that you've got to be sort of looking relative, see where the traffic is. If you know you're coming up to a pack of cars, which is what you're sort of seeing at the moment, as you're going to think to yourself, I'm going to lose time here, I really should be pitting. So I'm 100% with you. He got away with that one that time, but this is the lap where you really should be pitting. If I was Darren, I'd be pitting this lap, absolutely.
You just can't look. It's risk, right? You're presenting Ken Latta with a huge opportunity. Not necessarily he's going to take it, but every lap that he continues on, that opens up. The undercut is massively on now for Ken Latta. Darren Lobb, what are you doing? If he loses this race, he will look back at this moment and he'll look back at this one right here and go, I shouldn't have done that. I absolutely should not have done that.
Yeah, just quick feed from Dan as well. So that last lap previous, 0.6 per second in the second and third sectors, and lost 0.5 per sector from all that little kerfuffle that we saw as well. So he's lost over a second already just in 2 laps. That's massive.
That puts Latta back ahead.
Exactly, yeah. It was about a second and a half when the pit stops actually happened. So that effectively put Latta back in front. Now, unless Darren's hoping that the tyre advantage will play into oh, it looks like John Latham's just punched another fastest lap. Because also John Latham's got some really good pace at the moment. He's right behind Ken Latta at the moment. So this battle, this has just taken a whole new turn, because now not only is Darren Lobb looking to lose spots from Ken Latta, but John Latham's played in here as well. Lobb could go from first all the way to third at this point.
And the worst part is the traffic's not done for Lobb. He's coming through the second last corner now, so he will be on the run, down and past things. Is he going to? He's not going to come in. Does Darren Lobb know that he's got 2 compulsory stops to do here? I don't think he knows.
I think he knows, but it's just he's trying to play a different strategy. He's trying to go for that overcut. That's the only thing I can think of. You've got to remember too, Darren does have a much shorter stop that he needs to do compared to the cars around him as well. The cars are getting out of the way at the moment, so it's not working out too bad. So he does have a time advantage in the pit stop. But the only reason I could see him doing this at the moment is he wants to use a tyre advantage later on, which again, if you've already got an advantage in pit stop, you don't need the tyre advantage. Actually, you don't need the tyre advantage if you've got an advantage in the pit stop. So, yeah, that's the only thing I can sort of think of that he's trying to do. But yeah, again, why would you risk it when you've already got that advantage in the tyre stop, in the fuel stop?
Could you imagine if one of those lap cars he'd just driven around, had a huge moment, he had to check up, and he lost a second? Like, all of a sudden, we'd be sitting here going, oh, yeah, he has this nice comfy bumper. He's got nothing left, right? So, you know, it's not necessarily, oh, yeah, this is great. You know, he's in a great spot. Everything's, you know, the risk level is through the roof on this one from Darren. On a race where he looked into control, and we're keeping half an eye on this secondary battle pack. This is for 5th on track at the moment. Vanderkraan has ranged up on and overtaken Jason Fewens, and now Travis Hunt's the next car in this queue. And for Fewens, he hasn't made his second stop either. So Fewens is out of sync in this one, and Travis Hunt's now off the road. He'll look to try and get to the inside. He's got to get on by. If he wants to have a crack at Matt Vandergraan, this is critical. He gained a huge advantage from Fewens holding up Matt Vandergraan, but now, all of a sudden, this is holding him up. And for Travis Hunt, he is going to be effective P6 on the road. Lob has got another lap by. Another lap by. Look at what Ken Ladder's looking at the moment. It's clear air, and John Latham's starting to creep in. So all of a sudden, for Darren Lobb, this goes from comfortable first, got this in the bag, would need to throw it away, to he is trying his absolute best to put the bins out tonight. It is bin night where Darren Lobb's from, and he is throwing this race away. How long can he go? How long is he going to keep risking this one?
Only 2/10 of a second. Just watch the lap times. Only 2/10 of a second difference between Ken Ladder and Darren Lobb. So he didn't lose as much time that last stop. That last lap. So that wasn't as big of a bleed as what we've seen previously, because previously it was much bigger than that as well. So yeah, he sort of arrested it a little bit. But yeah, at the same time, it's like, oh, come on, Darren, you should be pitting at this point. You've got track position. You're going to have the fuel advantage.
He's gone on again. Yeah, he's gone again.
He has gone again. I don't get this. What is the play here? You're getting a lap 5. So we're at 35 at the moment, so there's effectively going to be about 7 laps to go. 7, 8 laps to go. 8 to go. Yeah, my math is great. So 8 laps to go. If you wanted to use a tyre advantage, you want to be... Yeah, it'd have to pit now.
Biggest belief. Absolutely biggest belief.
So, well, look, at this point, I don't think he'll finish off the podium. So I think we're going to have to give him a good ask. What was going on there? But we'll wait and see. This can still play out for him. Darren might still have this one in the bag. We don't know. There is still, it's about 5 to 7 second stationary time in the pits that we're thinking he's going to have advantage as well. So that's about 34 seconds there. Just dropped down to 35. So could still pop out in front. But again, it's clutching. It's going to be very, very close when the pit stop starts. So we'll wait and see. He's going to go to the box this time. Boy, in he goes.
Yep. So he just went out. He left the recycling out. He hasn't put the bin out just yet, ladies and gentlemen. It is recycling bin week for Darren Lobb, and he just wanted to make sure that he got all these recyclables out there before he came down the lane. Now we'll get the option to see if it is red bin night, if indeed he has taken it to the curb, if indeed he has thrown this one away. So we will ride on board with Ken Ladder as he comes down. We've got to keep half an eye. We've got to keep something in the background. Lobb is in the lane. He's still on the jacks. He's still on the jacks. It's going to come down to the last corner. I'm watching to see when he drops. He's down. He's away. It's comfortable. Forget it. You know what? He's got his recycling out. You know, he had enough time at that pit stop to take the red bin out as well. So forget that strategy. We had it all wrong here in the box.
Yep. We were definitely panicking for that one. And also remember too that the pit lane exit, because he started right in front of the field, the pit lane exit was not far in front as well. He's come out with a massive, look at that gap. That is a huge gap that he's pulled out in front. So yeah, we well and truly had that completely wrong. Also, my prior rambling has been proven absolutely crazy. So I'll be checking myself into the cycle once this broadcast is done, because yeah, that's monumental. I did not think he'd gain that much time, because the gap at the moment it's about 6.5 seconds. 6.4. The gap back to Ken Ladder. That's amazing. That he has not lost much time out of that at all. So yeah, that is that's mental. I'm dumbfounded. That is crazy.
Love it. I love it. I love hearing the dumbfounded, by the way. We got him, boys. It took a few weeks. It took 6 weeks of the season, but we got him. And for Darren Lobb, well, he is nice and comfortable now, so this will be a nice leisurely stroll to the start-finish line to start his lap, and then he might push on, grab himself a fastest lap bonus point, and then park the old bus. But the difficulty for me, and the bit that I didn't like, was the amount of traffic he was in. If he was in clear air, sure, kick on. but it's just the risk of somebody else's race falling to pieces right in front of you.
Absolutely. Oh, looked like Latham was pushing really hard on the back of Ken Latta. Had a really wide run as they came out of turn 2. Sorry, yeah, actually no, it was turn 2 because Americans count curves. So yeah, lost a little bit of time out of that one, but yeah, not too far behind. It looks like Ken Latta at the moment seems to have got the pace. Latham's getting onto the bumper of Ken Latta, but does not really seem to have a bit of a fight to try and get over to the front. But a couple of things I'm noticing at the moment. Travis Hunt has gotten past Fewens, and Fewens has actually taken the pit as well. Yeah, he managed to get just in front, managed to get in front before the pit stop happened as well. So that was good. Very good. So now he's going to be head down trying to chase Matt Vanderkruijt and get that position back. And Michael Taljancic is popping out in P12 at the moment. He's got a bit of a gap to the, we just saw them in front, that gap in front. So figured he might have been a bit closer when all of this would have shaken out, but no, he's a bit further back at 12, but with 6 to go, I don't really think he's going to have much left in the tank to go after that one. And as you said, Darren Lobb gets the extra point for fastest lap of the race.
Yep, by 0.2 of a second. That's what he was hanging on to and going long for. As soon as you know that you've got it, yeah, it's that was what he was looking for. Travis Hunt is starting to take tenths out of cars ahead, but it's like a tenth out of the 2 cars ahead of him. So he is lurking, he is there and thereabouts. That's Bruce Tannock there at the moment. He is about 1.7, 1.8 seconds ahead of Travis Hunt, and Hunt is closing in fractionally of Matt Vanderkruijt. But for these drivers, it is going to be very difficult with 5 laps on the board to get the job done, as the tyre age is getting close. Staying close is quite difficult. And then Matt Vanderkruijt has a big old wiggle. He's going to pick up a piece of the gravel on the left-hand side. And as we're heading into summer in Australia, Matt Vanderkruijt tries to go to the beach in America at the side of a racetrack, and that's not going to work all that well for him.
Yeah, it's trying to make a move work there. It's going to be a bit risky anyway, but hey, if the opportunity presents itself, you absolutely have a look. But yeah, the pace at the moment coming out of Travis Hunt at the moment, he's definitely got the pace in the car in front. Now he's just going to focus on just getting that car straight off the corner, try and stay as close as he can. Look how much he closes up on the rear bumper and actually keeps that too. Oh, it's a bit of a risky spot to have a look. I wouldn't have a look. Comes off that curb as well. So again, that's what I'm sort of saying. Just wait it out a little bit, and then he's gone hunting for an apex there as well out of the final corner. That's where you should be. If you're not quite close enough, that's where you should be sort of just backing up a little bit. Try and save an opportunity for the run into turn 1. And, or at least maybe have a look at the final corner. Having that little bit of a look, just compromise his line a little bit, and he sort of grabbed that curb. So again, thinking maybe a little bit further down the road as another opportunity. And see Jamie McKnight on screen at the moment, having to defend coming out of the final corner. Robbie Griffiths all over the rear bumper. He's going to try and have a look for the outside. Robbie Griffiths going to have a big look on the outside, but don't think you're going to get close enough to really have a chance. Craig Friend in the background will take advantage of it, as Robbie was well offline, but they'll switch back for the next turn, so Robbie will take that spot back. But it gives Jamie McKnight a little bit of breathing room. Robbie Griffiths is now going to have to look in the rearview mirror, because Craig Friend's going to be knocking on the door at this point.
Yeah, and have a look at this one as they go toe-to-toe. They go head-to-head for Robbie Griffiths. He's trying to put the foot forwards and trying to go further up the road, get past Jamie McKnight. Well, if you get by Jamie McKnight, you'll have a little bit of a buffer, and then have a look backwards at this one. Dean Fulvell, Michael Stewart, Scott McCune, the 2 teammates, Stewart McCune, off alongside of each other. And the other thing I was just thinking about as well, Mez. Oh, you can't do that at the corkscrew for Rick Sebra, who's had a phenomenal night thus far. It's all falling by the wayside, and I'm looking at Taljancic back inside the top 10 with 3 to go.
That has worked out great for Taljancic. It's just a little bit of a slide off the curb for Sebra as well, and it just caused that big, massive checkup. He's just managed to find his way through. But yeah, that's points in the bag. So now he's just going to have David Kirby in front as well. And you got Chris Blanchard in front in P8 as well. The radio is lighting up as well. Seeing what's actually happened there. But yeah, that's worked out really, really well for Taljancic. Just keep that out of the way. go and have a look at a replay. We'll see what's going on. Sibra in front at the moment. So you got Sibra, Kirby, and Blanchard. You can see he's gone for a look down the inside. They're running up to the corkscrew. They run side by side into the corner. It all looks fine, all looks fine. Sibra just trying to hold on to that position. Just went way too wide. And the cars just flicked back and just boom on the side. That bit of door-to-door contact. And yeah, everyone's sort of gotten away with it. I don't think there'll be much said about that, but yeah, the car just got very, very loose as it got unweighted coming out of the corkscrew. So
they're looking at it, race control are looking at it, and if you go back towards the front end of everything as well, something's happened to Brenton O'Brien, and indeed he's now having connection issues right in front of second and third place as well. Not the best for him. Travis Hunt and Matt Vanderkrant are going at it toe to toe, but so are these guys. So it's sort of pick your poison. You get to look at one battle, you can't look at two battles all at the same time in too much depth. And for John Latham, it will be a race win at Silverstone. He wants to get on the podium, so that is important to hang on to the third place, but he wants to stick a second place in there as well. He wants to see if he can chalk off potentially one of all three results. There is Brenton O'Brien getting right out of the way of these guys as they chase it down into the corkscrew. And as they come down through this section, it's the second last time tonight. It's going to be Darren Lobb just up ahead of them, who will be coming through the second last corner, and then the run to the flag to grab the white flag, and one to Gomez. And it is real tight up here. There is nothing in it from these guys, and it's going to take a mistake, you'd think. But I tell you what, Ken Ladder's made a few tonight, and it may not be out of the question just yet.
Yeah. Oh, look, coming off the corner, Ken Ladder's doing a really good job. He's driving it off the corner really, really well. And that's where John Latham just hasn't quite been able to sort of get close enough to really have a chance. There was a couple of laps earlier where he's very, very close as they ran into turn one, but again, he just can't quite get close enough. But now we'll look at Travis Hunt and say, Matt Vanderkrant very sideways off the corner. Travis Hunt be trying to get the thing off the corner as best he can. They are very, very close as they head up towards. They'll flick through turn one, through turn two, but the draft's not really going to help Travis Hunt at this point.
Oh.
Big lock up from Matt Vanderkrant. That's going to allow Travis Hunt to get a look up the inside. It's going to put him offline, but this is going to work out. He'll try and get the switch back, try and make Matt Vanderkrant look the other way. He's going to get in the bumper as they run out of turn two. Travis Hunt's going to have a little bit of a look. Wouldn't be doing it there, and you can see the gap just open back up again, just trying to find a way through, and that might just get Matt Vanderkrant off the hook.
But he's got to get through the last couple of corners, and for Travis Hunt, there was a big wiggle. He's now on the back foot as they head up to the king for the last time in tonight. That will sign, seal, and deliver it. He's caught the sausage curve on the inside. That will solve that one for Darren Lobb. It's to the final corner. He will come off of this one, and it's going to be Darren Lobb, who becomes a V8 Veterans race winner in season number 17. He's already done it once thus far, but now it's going to be twice for Darren Lobb. For Ken Ladder and John Latham, they will come home in P2 and P3 as they ran. And for just about everyone else, it's not been an easy night when you come to a mountain that's similar to Mount Panorama. It's the US version of it. The walls are a little bit further away, but it's still created its own amount of drama for Michael Taliancic back inside the top 10 after starting the night at turn one. The last car running on track. It will be an okay night, you'll take it. For Chris Blanchard, he's managed to hold off Taliancic in the dying stages of things. There's an achievement for Chris Blanchard. Started the season not all that well. Gets around number 6. He will make it inside the top 10. He's been to the attention of the stewards a number of times thus far this season, but you will take that as a highlight on the season for Van Loon. He takes his first top 10 of the year. The Fuelings will come back home in 15th. And this was a huge battle pack just in behind them as well. And they'll all shuffle as they get to the line. And McCune grabs 2 spots in that final couple of corners. And it's going to be out of fuel, Michael Stewart. So he was a fraction short, and that will be why positions were dropped at the line.
Yeah, did see Stewart drop very, very quickly. And yeah, I think that'll be the why. No more go juice in the tank. So very, very close there at the end.
Did you see the rear spoiler on that car? That thing took a huge whack to the rear bumper, and it'll be because there was no go-go juice left in that thing. When the other car behind you is starting to get on the loud pedal, you kind of expect the car ahead of you to do the same. So either way, Nice and casual down over and across the finish line. And for those of you saying Darren Lobb was out of fuel, no, I can tell you he absolutely was not. He's currently celebrating with burnouts on the front straight away. So he might have been saving fuel for a few little bit of extra celebration donuts. But for our top 10, this is how they looked. Darren Lobb, 2.3 seconds in the end. He had a comfortable margin and he was saving fuel so he could get the donuts in at the end. Ken Latta will get home in P2 and only by 299 thousandths of a second. From there, it was a significant distance back to a distant fourth place for Bruce Tannock. Was a reasonable result for him. Matt Vanderkrans just barely cheats Travis Hunt out of that spot, albeit Travis made that big mistake on the final lap. Chris Miller, Chris Blanchard, the first of the Chris's here tonight, and Mike Taliandrich back in ninth, and Scotty Van Loon, he'll take that, P10. That's a big old bag of points for the Rattler. Across the page now to P number 11. Jamie McKnight had a reasonable night at the office, and Rick Sieber, we talked about at the top end of the show. One lap pace was great. Racecraft, I think, was the bit that was lacking. Race pace was actually not too bad. He will receive himself a post-race penalty, though, for contact at the corkscrew towards the back end of the race. Robbie Griffiths, David Kirby in behind him. Jason Fewens pit later on in the Benetton Alliance Racing entry and comes home in 15th with the fast tyres at the end of the race. Dean Flavell, Scott McCune, Chad Lewis, Craig Friend and Troy Stone Street round out your 20.
And we'll flick over. P21 will be Michael Quain. Michael Stewart, coughing across the line, will come home in 22nd. Steve Banks will come home in 23rd. Kristen Smart will come home in 24th spot. Ribbit Chris Dale in the Frog Leap Juice racing car in P25. Damien Cross in P26. Brenton O'Brien coming home in P27, and as you can see, a lot of lapped cars here at the moment. Stephen Kennedy home, leading a 3 of M1 Racing with Darren Crosby and Chris Barrage in P30th. We'll flick over, and 31st will be Paul Burns. Simon Hederscheit managed to recover back to 32nd, and Greg Sharp seems like another night where, yes, unfortunately caught up in other people's incidents in 33rd. Steve Grumley in 34th place. Matty Parker in 35th. Darren Goosey in 36th spot. Todd Duggan in 37th. Stewie Hall in 38th place. Lorne Mackey in... Actually, no, I believe... No, these are the non-starters. Okay, I'll back myself up a bit. Yeah, Stewie Hall, Mackey and Anita Babcock are non-starters in this one.
Righto, ladies and gentlemen, as being the case on the last couple of weeks, it's going to be the first place driver is the last of the drivers to make it to our podium room. So we're going to start at the bottom end of the podium and work our way up. Tonight, third place, second podium on the season, and it has been that return to form. We saw a win a couple of weeks ago, John Latham, but tonight, P3, great battle with Ken Latta, and I get the feeling you're sitting there all of a sudden going, I actually had a good night at the office. I got to scrap, I got to fight, I got to claw my way around. We had pace, and fun by the look of things.
Hey guys, how are you? Yeah, it was pretty fun race. I'd say, even though I'm happy with it, I'm a bit disappointed in it because I honestly didn't feel I drove too well. I made lots of little mistakes. I mean, it was good fun to follow those boys around, but I just don't think I really had enough concentration to really get in the groove and put in a really good race. But yeah, P3, man, can't complain at that. Kept it nice and pretty clean, no accidents, decent pit strategy. So yeah, in the end, it's positives.
What have you learned? So for me, there's always learnings when you're back there in the pack and in the junk. Obviously, it hasn't come with the most consistent season that you've had on record, and certainly not the pace. You've had that flash in the pan now at Silverstone. But was there anything that you took away from obviously when you didn't have the raw speed to be up the front? We were at least working on racecraft, braking, undercutting, switchbacks, those bits and pieces. Was there some learning and some evidence of that there tonight?
I mean, last week I had a lot of computer trouble, so I spent a bit of time after that and got that fixed, so it's pretty good now. I'm happy with that. The biggest learning for me, I guess, is, if the pace kind of isn't there, and I don't think I can really attack, it's just to, I guess, consolidate when you can and make sure you get a good result and kind of keep that momentum going, because it's pretty easy to have a few bad results. Like yeah, my to be honest, my championships, like, it's just racing for fun now and rocking up and having a bit of fun. But as far as working on the driving, yeah, probably just, I mean, it's a little bit difficult in WA because, like, you've got to get home for 4:30 to get on the computer. So you kind of come home from work, you don't really get much of a rest or a relax or a reset to come to your computer. You just jump straight on, where you find you kind of still a bit fatigued, if you know what I mean, and then that kind of carries through a little bit. So especially being older, it's harder to have that energy all the time. So yeah, I think if you're not having good rage, conserving that energy, trying to drive smart is a pretty good plan.
Mate, I felt like it was 50 or something on the weekend. I tell you what, Sunday morning after the first game of cricket of the season, so I can definitely empathise with that. In terms of things, mate, satisfied with the performance? You know, like I said, second podium now in 3 weeks. Obviously, you can't take much away from Laguna Seca. Things just didn't go your way, computer not working, you know, but if you found from the 2 rounds that you feel like you put your best feet forward, you know, there's 2 podiums there, and is it maybe we're targeting getting into the back end of the top 10 at the end of things this season?
Yeah, I think for me, at the moment, I think it's just rocking up and having fun and having a good race and good battles with people. I think that's a good aim for me now. Where I finish for the year, I don't think there's too much consequence for myself. I mean, it's more about rocking up and having good races, kind of every week, which doesn't always happen. But you know, I think you can just aim to be consistent. I think you can, you know, claw back some of the bad races that you have. So yeah, I think that's kind of a little bit the aim. Overall, I'm happy with 3rd, but at the same time, I guess, like anyone who races, sometimes you get a bit disappointed in the way you drove, because you feel like I feel like my quick laps around here in practice, I felt like I had some good pace, but tonight it just didn't gel, didn't convert it. So a little bit disappointed in that regard, but really happy to get 3rd.
Mate, and then I think that's really sort of well put together, brother. So your opportunity to thank the sponsors to make it possible for you tonight, John.
Yeah, thanks to the guys at Racecraft as always. Thank you to our series sponsors, and broadcast is always fantastic to watch back. Thanks to the guys in the team for, you know, their good banter and working out fuel strategies, etc., etc. So thanks for that, and yeah, I'd like to thank all the other veterans for turning up with the split 1, 2, or 3. There's great battles always in every split, so thanks to everyone for turning up and making it a really popular, competitive, and fun league.
Thank you very much for your time tonight, John, and hopefully we'll see you again before the season's out.
Yeah, thanks guys. I'm sure you will.
Moving one step further up the podium tonight, Mez, you've got Ken Lutter with you on standby.
Ken, picking up P2 tonight, so qualified on pole. But yeah, sort of the Darren Lobb seemed to have something up his sleeve in terms of pit strategy.
Yeah, well, he definitely took more fuel on the first stop, and I guess he sort of felt that he was on the front foot after I minced the bloody corkscrew at least twice, so it didn't help things. But yeah, just second's still a good result regardless.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the corkscrew. Just sort of not used to seeing you sort of make the same mistake twice. But was it just a carb balance issue going into the corkscrew, or just simple little mistakes?
I think I was just coming up a little bit quick. Might have locked the brake a little, and then I just couldn't get the thing to turn in.
Well, those things happen, but yeah, either way, sort of result tonight. You definitely seem to be you, John, and Darren were the pace setters tonight. So yeah, obviously got gelled in well with the track and ran up front well with the guys. So is it a track you tend to like racing here?
Yeah, I do like it here. I mean, like I was saying to you guys last week, you know, it either loves you or it hates you, you know, but I guess tonight, I wouldn't say it hated me, but little mistakes like that which are made, and then the tyres aren't quite there once you're sort of trying to recover after going off. So, you can't take anything away from Darren. He was super quick, and he was super quick in practice. So.
And thinking a little bit of the championship picture, obviously Talyancic had a pretty rough qualifying and sort of struggled to get through the field. And you sort of had a similar situation like that in I believe it was Silverstone, where sort of the race didn't plan out the way you hoped, and this obviously presents an opportunity. You've banked yourself some really good points and potentially look at getting yourself back in that championship picture.
Well, definitely, you can't count me out yet. We've still got quite a few races before the end, and anything can happen, as you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, before we let you go, who would you like to thank for getting it done?
Well, congrats to Lob. He drove brilliantly tonight, and of course Latham, you guys, Race Control, all the guys at SSR, Wave Runner Performance, Smith & Sons, Epoxy, DGG Customs, Australian Laminating Company, JK Signs, Nolan, Aftershock PC, Western Mazda, and Too Easy Finance. Thank you.
Awesome, good stuff again. Great job again tonight, and we'll see you at the next round.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
And with Ken Ladder now out of the way, we'll step down to our race winner from tonight from Laguna Seca. All three drivers finishing on the podium at Laguna Seca. Last name started with L, so it's Darren Lobb, John Latham, and Ken Ladder's love affair with Laguna Seca here tonight in the podium lobby. How was that one for a run?
Oh, throw a cool another L in. That was lekker, guys. Good old South African slang. Yeah, it was good fun, man. It was Ken didn't make me work too hard for it after the first little bit. I was disappointed not to stitch up pole. I was saying to John, I made a mistake in turn 2 on my quali lap, and that was it. You kind of just boom, 4/10s gone. But I felt like I had pretty good race pace, and I just kind of sat behind Ken and try to look after the tyres a little bit. And it's quite easy sometimes when you got a little bit of pace up your hand. You can kind of watch what the guy in front of you is doing. And I was saying to him now, I just noticed like little puffs of smoke in the braking zones. He was just locking up front, and 6-7 laps into a stint, you kind of know you're going to have the advantage on someone. So yeah, two mistakes in the corkscrew, and he kind of handed it to me quite nicely. A bit sketchy with some of the back markers at one stage though. Made me get a little bit nervous.
Well, you had us all in stitches up here about we couldn't believe the strategy you were going on with, because in terms of things, you went on incredibly long on that extra set of tires. So we sort of had an idea in the back of our minds that you had that fastest lap in mind, an extra little tag of bonus points. But we were sitting there going, that's a lot of risk he's taking in and around the lap traffic. You put a lot of faith in those guys here tonight.
Yeah, I did. I was actually watching who it was on my relative, and it's funny. It worked out really well tonight because it was relatively decent drivers that towards the back of the field that had just pitted, so they kind of just had that little bit of edge with new tires. And I could sit in the draft a little bit with him, which kind of gave me that 2-3 lap that really helped to kind of cement the gap. It was risky. I mean, I got tagged right at the end, I think on lap 40, by a car that spun through the last corner and then just rejoined basically straight in my door. And yeah, I suppose it was risky. I had in the back of my mind like a really late safety car as well. And once Ken had kind of committed to an early stop, I knew I needed to get a really good tyre advantage on him in case there was a late safety car. But yeah, man, JRT is a bloody good tool when you're playing some racing. So I could watch where it was predicting my rejoin and kind of watch what John and Ken were doing, and yeah, just kind of keep your nose out of trouble. You can never really trust the back markers battling it out in front of you, because there's always bound to be a mistake somewhere. But yeah, you win some, you lose some, right? Tonight was on the winning side.
Mates, more importantly, how scared... Well, sorry, you guys have got one over us. The South Africans have pipped the Aussies. Your World Cup is going quite well, and it's now starting to come off the rails. How much of the cricket you've been following?
Oh, geez, actually very little of it. I played a lot of cricket when I was younger, so I grew up more of a cricket fan than a rugby fan. But I've got to be honest, I've watched very little of it. But I'm all in for the rugby on the weekend, and a bit of a funny one where the country you support and your kind of birth country and home country is now playing your adopted country. So I'll be donning the Springbok jersey on Sunday morning, shouting loud for the Springboks. And yeah, the Proteas, I think they call themselves, are looking pretty good in the cricket, but I think there's still quite a bit of that tournament to go, isn't there?
So what happens in that case? So you're sitting there in a Springbok jersey, and the Kiwis win. Do you very quickly throw a Kiwi jersey on over the top, or you try and blend into the background? How does that work?
Mate, I'm going to take 2 Springbok jerseys with to the pub on Sunday morning, and I'm going to hand them out to the Kiwis when the final whistle goes and we lift the trophy. I'll be handing the South African trophies out. Look, I make a joke about it. We actually stay on the North Shore in Auckland, and the North Shore's renowned to be pretty dominated by South Africans. So more times than not, you go out to a pub and it's a pretty even match of Kiwis and South Africans. But nah, jokes aside, it's always a good rivalry, and it's always respectful between the two teams. And I got to be honest, the two supporters, it's bloody good mixing it with the Kiwis in a pub. Doesn't matter who you're supporting.
Mate, now the important question. Next week we head to the road course attached to an oval. It's not one of the regulation ones. How many laps have you done around Homestead, Miami on the oval? And how prepped are you for that section of it? And then how many laps have you done through the infield?
Probably done too many laps around the oval to actually think about. Don't think I've ever done a lap around the infield, but I've got a bigger challenge on my hand than a track I've never driven, and an oval at that, in that my wife is due with our second baby tomorrow. So
what are you doing still on the sim? Get off, go, disappear.
I was going to say, not so convinced what next week Thursday is going to look like, but yeah, it might be a little bit sketchy. You might be asking me the same question before the race, and I'll be giving you the same answer.
Darren Lobb, that's him, ladies and gentlemen. He might be disowned by the time we get to next week. We'll have to find out. But for now, Lobby, the opportunity to thank the sponsors, mate.
Yeah, Scotty, thank you, man. Just my team DPR, my sponsor here in New Zealand, Man on Racing Products. Clearly, you guys are having a good banter and putting on a bloody good show. And yeah, just everyone else, good racing tonight. And let's look forward to some good sports events over the weekend. Go the Springboks.
And if you're thinking of new baby names, just remember Scott's a great name, mate. Simon is not a great name, so
we'll definitely drop them both on the shortlist, right?
Thank you very much, mate. Keep us in touch.
Can confirm. Simon is a horrible name. Don't pick it.
Keep us in touch. Keep us informed if you can't make it next week. I want to know, buddy. Congratulations with everything that's going on in that section of the world, and good luck becoming a new father again, shall we say.
Thanks, Scotty. I appreciate it, buddy. You guys have yourself a good weekend.
Same to you, Darren. And ladies and gentlemen, that is just about going to wrap us up here from Laguna Seca. So we will be heading to the Oval next time out. It is going to be the Oval of Homestead, Miami. It's been renowned in the 2010s for hosting the grand finale of NASCAR's Championship Series, the NASCAR Cup Series. Not so anymore. That's now hosted by Phoenix, but it's the unused road course in the internal part of the oval. Doesn't see a whole lot of action when it comes to high horsepower, high downforce machines. What can the V8 veterans bring to the track? And indeed is a good serve of curry on the stands at Miami Homestead. A great way to round out your Thursday night. You can find out how that one runs next week from 8:35 Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Mez, Laguna Seca wasn't all that bad. I kind of enjoyed it a little bit more from the commentary box, mate. Good night at the office, you'd say, for a few drivers there?
Yep, definitely. Obviously, the podium were the class above tonight. I think Laguna Seca delivered. I'm pleasantly surprised about that. I just one of those tracks I sometimes delivers good racing, sometimes but I think tonight it delivered some really good action through the field. I am really looking forward to getting to Homestead, Miami. It's one of those tracks where have done a fair few laps around the road course of it. And it is actually a lot of fun. There will be, I feel like, plenty of opportunities for passes, especially in the banked section as well as the infield section. So yeah, I think we're going to be looking for a really good race to come next week.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you have enjoyed everything that you've seen thus far, don't forget to follow along. There is more where that came from the Sim Racing booth, and indeed from SimSpeed. Once again, it's going to be on behalf of our sponsors. A big shout out to Logitech G, Parramatta Isuzu Ute, Nova Sim Sports, and Player One Sim Gear. Ladies and gents, that has been your coverage from WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. We'll stay in America next week for the triple header on the American shores. Will you join us? Well, it's all to find out from 8:35 Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time next Thursday night. Bye for now. We'll see you then. Same sim time, same sim place.
Racing isn't easy. but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.